bring Jeff DeYoung on right now. How you doing, Jeff? Good to see you, man.
Doing great. What's up, April?
Not a lot of it, just chillaxing. So, this is especially cool to have you on right now because we created multiple new committees. We talk about it a lot on our volunteer Facebook group, but a lot of people out in the public don't realize that we created five new committees at Breast Cancer Can Stick It this year, four of which are part of Drumathon because Drumathon is our largest fundraiser. And boy, we need lots of help in there every single year. And we're really trying to get more hands involved so we can continue to expand. And you are part
Right
of
on.
the Drumathon fundraising committee. And
Woohoo!
I know, dude, you rock. And I just have to tell everybody, one of the biggest reasons I wanted to get you on the team is because you are such a positive light in the Dallas Fort Worth community, the music community. And it's like you're one of those people, like the first time I met you, I couldn't tell you what it was because I just feel like I've known you forever. And we would
Right.
just see each other all the time. And I was always very happy to see you, and you always had a smile on your face. And I just know that you're going to make such a huge impact in the fundraising committee this year for Drumathon. And we're just going to just blow it up and raise more than we ever have and make a huge dent in the fight against breast cancer here in the Dallas Fort Worth community.
Yeah, definitely. We're gonna definitely take our best shot at it, and we're gonna rock it. And it's definitely great to be a part of the team. I really do appreciate you asking me. And it was something that I was honored to be asked about, and I had to think about it for just a minute, and wanted to make sure that I could commit to it and give you all I got. And I was like, yeah, let's do this.
Yep. You're
But
slaying
yeah, it's
dragons
been
already.
Uh, and I it has been great to know you all these years, and I go to drumathons, and I think one of the things that I think is kind of special is that I started going drumathons before I even knew you or anyone in the scene, before I even got into the tribute scene or the music scene in Dallas. And I was a drummer in Dallas, and there was a drumathon going on. I was like, there's no way I'm missing this. And I went to, I think my first two drumathons just basically all by myself. I didn't know anybody. And then I got to know people and everything. And then I got to know you, and I'm like, oh, this is what, how this all works. And this is what's behind it. And this is the real reason for the cause. Cause I was just like, oh, cool, drumathon. And that was a really cool experience for me to get involved that way, or get acquainted to it. And then I got involved more formally this year. And so today we start fundraising, right? Today
Heck
is
yeah, dude.
we're
Today's the big
launching the fundraising.
opening day, as it were, right, man?
Right.
Drumathon.org/register. Everybody can sign up to
Yeah.
start fundraising right now. Yeah.
Yes, you can start fundraising right now. And so we're all banging on all cylinders and getting the word out. And for the drum thing is just a great fun way to get people involved, with music, and to support things for a good cause. I just think it's a great, well-rounded, organization that does a lot of different things, in order to support women with breast cancer, and to help them with mammograms, and various things like that can help them out. And so I'm all for it. I'm a drummer, and I also think it's a great organization and a great cause, and great people that are in it. So there's really no downside for me at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm all for it.
We feel really blessed to have you, man. Super excited. And it's funny because, in all these years that we've known each other, it's these situations where I really get a chance to get to know folks better that I've known for so long in the community because we fly past each other. We're out there, the
Right,
music's loud, and you're just like rocking out. You don't really get to a chance to sit down and like talk to
right.
each other and understand where everybody came from. So I want to talk about how drumming came to be in your life. Like, how did drumming start for you?
So I was about 13 years old, and I knew that I really liked music. And I would ride along with my dad in the car, and we go clean hair shops, and he ran a cleaning business, and we go clean places and whatnot. And when I ride with him, he'd have on the oldies radio and stuff, and then also classic rock. And anyway, I just knew I really liked music, and I was like, what could I do, with music? It would be cool to like actually play music. And I was like, oh, the drums look really cool. That looks like a lot of fun. And also my uncle is also a drummer. And so that was a cool tie-in. And then that I didn't get my first set until I was 15, so a couple years. But I bought my first set. It was a percussion plus set, for $500, and
And that's
found
a
another.
step up from my Sears drum set that was paper. So you're
Yeah,
doing good.
actually, you know what? Cool piece of trivia. I'm glad you said that, because when I was 8 years old, my parents bought me a kiddie drum set. It may have been from Sears, I don't know, but it was one of those little kiddie drum sets, and it was way before I even had two thoughts about playing drums. They just happened to buy me this little kiddie drum set, and then years later, I was like, yeah, I want to be a drummer.
That's so
And
funny.
so I totally feel you on that.
Yep.
But it was $500, and I found it on the classifieds in the newspaper. This is way before internet. This is like early '90s, and so then it just went from there, and I got involved with some friends, and we were playing some music, writing some original music, but nothing, ever really gained any traction. It was just, I just knew I loved playing drums. And my first CD ever was a Phil Collins live CD. And then I was left-handed, and he was playing left-handed. And to me, it looked natural and normal, watching him play like that. I didn't know I was doing anything different than the norm. And it just kind of progressed from there. So that's how I got involved in music, and then I started down the rabbit hole of Phil Collins and Genesis and all that kind of stuff. So,
So
so yeah.
back then, you said you're 15 when you get your first drum kit. When was
Mhm.
the first band you joined, and tell me about that? How old were you, and what was that band?
So I think I started jamming with a girl that lived across the street, that you know, and I would jam with some friends and stuff like that. And she heard me playing drums one time, and in my room, and because they were loud, so you could hear it outside the house. And I played with friends and stuff like that. But then the real first band that I joined we were called Maple Neck, and we did old blues, classic blues covers. And then I think the bassist had a couple songs that he had written that we played as well, and we played Down in Deep Ellum and stuff. I think by that time I was like, I was 21, 22. Before that, I was just playing with friends, and just kind of playing around. I wasn't really playing any shows. And then, we played in Deep Ellum and a couple places. Like, I think the biker bar we played at is now like an office or something, you know, as things have changed over the years. And so I did that for a little while. Then, and then I started playing with some friends again, and we were actually starting to write some good original material. And then in May of 2001, I remember the date vividly. I had to pay my rent, and I got fired from a job, and because I couldn't show up on time. Which is, I guess that's cool being a rock star. You can't show up to work on time. I don't know.
That's right. Way to go, man. Way
Yeah,
to
right,
go.
right on,
I don't
man.
feel tardy.
Yeah, right. so I had to pay rent, and I sold all my drums and everything I owned, all my drum stuff I owned, to Guitar Center, and they gave me like $2,000 for all of it. So I was able to pay rent plus some other things. And then I moved in with my dad. And then it wasn't until a few years later I bought an electronic kit. And then a year or so after that, I bought a real acoustic kit. And then I started, I kind of looked on Craigslist, because, the internet had finally come around. And I got with a band called Superglide, with a guy named Doug. And Doug, forgive me, but I can't remember your last name right now. But he's a good guy, and we were playing in Superglide, and then we started doing some gigs here and there. And I just decided at some point it was good to move on. So then I got into a cover band called the Josh Lee Band. Shout out to Josh Lee. And and so that's kind of, where kind of how my journey was progressing at that point. But I don't want to ramble on and rant too much. But that's kind of how I got my start. I think that kind of answered your question, kind of where
Yeah,
that
no,
maple neck, that, yeah,
no, I love that. And so the band that you had with Doug, was that an original band or a cover band?
that was covers. That was all
Gotcha.
covers. We were doing Peter Frampton and Leonard Skinner and all that kind of stuff, CC Top, and we were just doing classic rock covers. And then when I got with Josh Lee band, we were doing more like 80s 90s covers, which was just more of a, it really energized me because I had been playing basic classic rock and Maple Neck and this other band Superglide up until that point. I was like, yeah, this is kind of more my generation, in 90s and 80s and stuff. And so that was a lot of fun for a while, for about a couple years. So yeah.
That's cool. Yeah, that's awesome. So, after you got finished with those bands, what happened
Mhm.
next? So, where you mentioned that the internet is here at this point,
Right.
and you've got yourself acoustic kit. You did a couple of
Hmm.
cover bands, but
Right.
did you go through another period where you kind of weren't playing for a little while, or did you continue playing
Um,
straight through to current?
Straight through to current. So yeah, so I had an acoustic kit, and then I sold that and then got a better acoustic kit at that point, and I was with Josh Lee band, and I had like a Pearl rack, and I had a Gretsch renown, or no, a Gretsch Catalina maple, uh Catalina wine mixers, like we like to call them. And we I've had that for a while, and then me and Josh Lee, we had kind of a falling out, but that's in the past, and we're all good and everything. And I was just like, I really want to get into the tribute scene, because in my mind, and this is no offense to what anybody does in a cover band, because if you're happy having it playing in a cover band, that's awesome. And I think cover bands are awesome, and they're a lot of fun. But I wanted to be, I've been, the bands that I've been through, I was just like, to me personally, I want to, I want the song to sound, just like I remember it, and a tribute band, that's what they do. They're going to play it just like the band played it. Not only that, but they're going to play the live version, and they're going to do this and that and stuff. And so I went on Craigslist and I found the tribute band listing for, first I found one for a U2 band, and I joined that, and that became Zoo 2, and with Alan Lineberry and another guy named Adam. Anyway, and then we joined, and then I kept looking back and scrolling back in Craigslist, and this was in October of 2016. No, sorry, October 2017. And then I kept scrolling back all the way to August, and I just kept scrolling and looking. I'm just like, wasting time on Craigslist. And then I found this listing from a guy named Art Fernandez that was wanting to start a Phil Collins tribute. And I'm like, shut the front door. Like, he wants to
Yeah.
start a Phil Collins tribute. Like, are you kidding me? Like, cause I had always thought, oh, that'd be kind of cool, but that'll never work. Yeah,
It's a lot. There's
I
just
know
so
how,
much to yeah. So much to
right?
that, man.
Yeah, I know. Well, I know how much I love Phil Collins, but I'm like, I never met anyone else that loves Phil Collins as much as I do. So surely there can't be anyone out there, right? So I find Art, I blow him up on Facebook and his email and everything, and I start showing up to his solo shows. I'm like, dude, I would love to do this. And so then I put out a Craigslist ad for a guitarist and a bassist for the band, and Ken Falarka and Chris Quadra were the first two that showed up for the audition, and they worked. They're like the first two people that show up to audition for a band. I don't know how many times that happened, but it can't be
It's
can't be a
unheard
whole
of, man. No, it's
lot.
totally, it
Right,
feels like it's
right.
unheard of, really.
Yeah, and they were just good guys that not only, I think three things are important to any band really, but in a tribute band, it's you have to get along, obviously, and then have the passion for the music, and then also have the talent to play the music that you're passionate about. Because if one of those things isn't there, then it's not going to work. But all those things were there. It just all worked with those guys, and And then we found a Giovanni Riggins, who basically knew how to play the entire Genesis and Phil Collins catalog. Like we would just say, "Oh yeah, well yeah, that song, that's kind of cool," and he'd be like, start playing it. Like, okay, this guy, you're hired. Like it totally.
Wow.
Let's
Yeah,
do
that's
this. Yeah,
crazy. Yeah.
right. And then we just started going, and our first show was on June 11th, 2018, and we are celebrating our 5 year anniversary actually on June 7th at the
Well,
Revel. It's going to
you
be a
guys,
dinner show at the Revel.
yeah, you guys started out being called Faux Collins and then
Right.
changed to Pure Collins. So what happened there?
Correct. So I'll make this short, but basically, in May of 2019, uh, some dude, and I've done all I can to forget his name, so I don't know who he was, but anyway, some dude that's in Florida, and he apparently he had been using the name Phil Collins, and we decided to use Phil Collins because we couldn't find anyone with any online presence that was using Phil Collins anywhere. And all we could find really was some 10-year-old video on YouTube that of some Phil Collins band. I'm like, well, that's 10 years ago. We can't find anything else on the online about him. I think we're fine. Plus it's a cover band. I mean, a tribute band. Who cares? So so anyway, because I'm sure there's lots of Blizzard of Oz's out there, right?
Right, right. Yeah.
Right. So who cares, right? Well, he decided to go trademark the name, and they gave it to him. And he sent a nasty email saying, "Hey, I'm going to sue you if you don't change your name, yada yada." And we tried to fight it, and in the end, it was like we fought it for about 6 months and spent some money on fighting that as well, because it just seemed stupid, and it was like the principal thing. So anyway, so we changed. We thought, well, because it was getting to the point where it wasn't fun anymore. With all that on our shoulders and on my shoulders, it was just like I almost was like ready to pack it in. I was like, you know what, this isn't fun. And I'd rather not do this than have to do this and deal with this, and which is sad, but I did for a moment. But then we were like, okay, well, let's just change the name, and we'll change it to Pure Collins, which Pure or PHIL, it's the same number of letters, and it's PC, and the initials work, and also our logo actually, now that I had Brian Small make our logo. Shout out to Brian Small. And
Definitely.
he
Yeah.
yeah, and he made that logo, and it looks great. It looks like Phil Collins logo. Obviously we're Pure, not Phil, but it works. And I haven't seen any other tribute band that has a logo nearly as close to Phil's, signature logo as ours. So that's kind of neat. So it actually worked out for the
Yeah.
better, and it's worked out
Well,
good.
I'm going to jump on your bandwagon of giving a shout out to Brian Small because Brian Small is part of one of the new committees that we started this year, which is our
That's
multimedia
right.
committee. Yeah. So Brian Small does graphic design for Breast Cancer Could Stick It, along with Nicole Devaney and Phil Verone are all part of that multimedia committee. So got a lot of really great people. So yeah, I can attest to the fact that your logo is great. It's killer. And Brian
Mhm.
Small is great at doing that kind of stuff for sure with small media. So that's really cool. Well, man, I'm glad that you did not pack it in and that you kept that going because I've been seeing your band playing around here for so long. And I finally got to see you guys. It was just like 2 or 3 weeks ago. It was the first time I ever got to see y'all. Usually when you're playing, I'm playing, or you're playing far away or something like that. And I finally caught you over at the Revel. Such a great show. And I mean, you guys are the real deal. I mean, you have two drum kits out there. Your singer can play
Yep.
drums. And so,
hmm
I mean, what's the story behind him? And is he just a huge Phil Collins fan as well? And I mean, the guy sounds just like him. It's amazing. Sounds
He
just like him.
does, and thank you. But he does, and he really doesn't have to alter his voice much. he will do the inflection. He'll sing the songs like Phil sang them, and certain inflections and stuff. But he really doesn't have to alter his voice, to sound like Phil. And there are great singers out there that are able to alter their voices to sound like that artist, but he doesn't. And so he was talking with his dad, Arturo, and he said, "Hey, Dad, that's." I like playing drums, but I also like to sing. And his dad was like, well, actually, there's different singer drummers out there like Don Henley and Phil Collins and yada yada. And he's like, oh, really? He's like, yeah, you can do both. And he was like, oh, well, cool. And so he did, and he started getting into Phil, and he really does take on, not only take the music of Phil Collins seriously, but he really I love that he really gets into the nuances and some of the different minutia and things that Phil does live on stage. And some things we can pull off as a tribute band, some things we can't because we're not Phil, But I love that he has a passion for not just the music, but also everything that is Phil Collins. And so that's kind of how he got into all that, and that's where his association with Phil is.
Well, I mean, it's really perfect. I mean, like I said, um, it's rare that you go see a tribute band and it just sounds so remarkably like the original singer. That's the
Thank you.
hardest thing to emulate. So that was super super impressive.
Thank you. Yeah, and we also have a horn section. We have a three-piece
Yep.
horn section. We got Ken Snow and Chad Wood and Jason. Jason's gonna kill Jason Webb, and he and they're all great too. They've been with us for a long time. We call them the pure street horns, and they're great. And we have Ken Falarka on. Well, as I mentioned before, we have Ken Falarka and Chris Quadra on guitar and bass, respectively. And then we have a new addition to the two newer additions to the band. We have Daniel Orozco on piano and keyboards, more specifically, and he's a wizard on the keyboards. And there are a lot of great musicians that I've had the pleasure to play with. And no disrespect to them or anybody else, but I really feel like Daniel is like the most. I don't know how to really describe it. He's the most talented musician. That's the easy way to say it. The most talented musician I've ever played with. But I mean, he just has a great ear for music, and he learned like 10 Phil Collins and Genesis songs in 2 weeks before his audition with us, and some that he had heard before, like he knew Susudio, right? But some he had never heard before, and he just picked them up and learned them, and came into our rehearsal, and we were like, oh my gosh, you're great. So he's great. He's amazing. And then we also have Sarah Elizabeth Jensen on backup vocals, and she does the Philip Bailey part of Easy Lover. And so she's great to have in the band as well. And it's just a great, well-oiled machine at this point. Not to say we never have hiccups, but we feel like we're really hitting our stride this year. So yeah, that's so thank you very much for the
Yeah.
the props, and I appreciate you coming out to our show as we
Yeah,
do
heck
anyone.
yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Totally, totally. It's a great show, and I'm anxious for other folks, who haven't seen you guys to see y'all. But that's not all you have going on. So you've been doing the Dreams Unwind gig, the
Hmm.
Stevie Nicks tribute. Also, how long have you been
Yes.
doing that one?
So after I finally beat them down after a few months, and finally they let me join in February of last year. And I'd been telling Lori that I would love to be a part of that band, and they were looking for a permanent drummer. And and they finally just gave up and let me join. So but no,
They
they
were like, okay, fine.
they're like, fine, okay, you can play with us now. But no, they were I was definitely honored, that they wanted me to play with them. And and my first show with them was probably the most nervous I've ever been before a show, because it was my first show with them. So you're nervous about that anyway, right? And then it was at Grandscape, and we had Ironic doing the Alanis Morissette tribute with Hillary Leverton. Shout out to Hillary Leverton, also on the Breast Cancer Good Ticket fundraising committee.
Yeah, yeah.
And they were doing their first show, and so everybody and their brother was there, and we had like 4 photographers there that just, like Thomas Moore and others that were there, and we're just like, oh my gosh. So I was very nervous, but that was a great show nonetheless, and it's been great being with them. And Lori Carlisle, our Stevie, and then we've got Andy Long on lead and rhythm, and we also have Ryan. I can't remember his last name right now. Sorry, Ryan. He is on guitar as well, and then we have Jurgen, who's on keyboards, and we have Chris, who is on bass and backing vocals. And so that's a real joy to be in that band. I remember when I started playing drums at 15, I would try to play Edge of 17, and that beat is
It's so weird, man.
It is, right?
Don't.
Yeah.
It's like, God. It's like,
and
what is happening, man?
I know,
right? When you just hear it on the radio, you're like, oh, there's not much happening. But then when you sit down, like, you're like, what? It's like backwards or something. It's crazy,
right?
Yeah,
right. And I remember when I finally learned to play it, like one day, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm actually doing it. Like, oh my God, and so
that's a lot of concentration right there, man. Yep.
Right. And then when I started playing it with this band, the thing about that song, not to go too long on that, but basically I was like, my body wanted to do something different. But you're playing that same beat for a long time, and you're not doing anything different at all. You're not doing anything. You're playing that same beat for at least a good 2 minutes. And you're doing nothing but that. And that's it. You're playing that complicated rhythm, even though it sounds simple, it's complicated. And you're doing that for 2 minutes. And my body wanted to be like, okay, let's do a roll now. Okay, let's do this now. And then I'm like, nope, we got to keep doing this, And I've now it's a lot easier. But man, those first few times I played that song, I was just like, my body was like, okay, when do we get to hit a roll? When do we get to do this? Like, I was like, nope, we got to keep playing this,
Yep, so. It's because it's a driver of that song, man. It's the total, it's the driver for it. I mean, and it is the heartbeat of that song. I remember, I think I saw somebody do that song a while back, and I was like, oh wow, that's really messed up. Like, I realized that it sounds like it's something simple, but it's not so much. So we got the Pure Collins gig, we got the Dreams Unwind, and then you just recently released a brand new project. So let's talk about that.
Yes. Yeah, so that is, and I've got their shirt on, our shirt on. It's Pride in the Name of U2.
Yes.
And I want to give a shout out to Chris Cruz Pino, who is also with Breast Cancer Good Ticket, right?
Yes.
Chris Pino, yeah. And he I was actually on the phone with him. We were going to call it Pride, a tribute to U2, which, that works, but but that's what we were going to go with, because we already had the logo with the Joshua tree and the pride, and the tree and is the I in Pride. And so he said, I was talking to him on the phone, and he was like, you know what? You should call it Pride in the Name of U2. And I'm like, oh, shut that front door again, like, oh my gosh, like that is just boom. And I was like, dude, that is great. Yeah, that'd be awesome. Because, the song's name is Pride in the Name of Love. We'd call Pride in the Name of U2. I was like, that perfect, done. And so we did.
It is a great name. Solid.
Yeah,
totally.
Yeah. It's not a tribute to, or such experience, or something like that, or and it is the name of a song, but it's kind of a play on words. So we went from there, and I David Houston, Dallas Voice Coach, David Houston, DallasVoiceCoach.com. he saw me at Tees Bar and Grill in Louisville, and he said, "Hey, I know you used to, do U2 stuff, and I know this guy named Jeff Bernstein. He's wanting to put a U2 band together, and I'll connect you guys." I'm like, "Okay, cool." So we did connect, and he was working with Colin, and I'm going to forget his last name, but he's a bass player in town. I think it's Colin Alexander. And then also he was working with Will Cruz on drums, but and he was also working with Brad Avance, who played in Campus Radio, and he, they all had a real passion for it. Colin and Will definitely love U2, but they were finding that they just didn't have the time to devote to getting a whole new tribute project off the ground and devoting all the time that would need for it. So with their blessing, Brad and Jeff started working with me, and then I called my friend Robbie Terry, who also knew U2 pretty well on bass, and who I played with before, and he was like, "Yeah, I'm interested." So we just got together, and it was one of the a very fun experience, because on our first like two or three rehearsals, we would, every time we would do a new song, okay, let's do Vertigo. We do it one time, and we were like, okay, done, next. It was just gelling so good. And Jeff Bernstein sounds so much like Bono. And I know that there are a lot of bands out there, and particularly like Pure Collins, when we started, those songs are very difficult, to play. And so it took a lot of work for us to get it, up and going. But with the U2 thing, we all knew U2. We'd all done U2 before in our lives, and it just worked really well. So that was in October last year, 2022, and then our goal was to have our first gig on on March 17th, St. Patty's Day. And so we did, and we thankfully got 13th Floor Entertainment reached out to us, and they wanted us to play at a Texas Lottery Plaza, and so we did, and we launched our website, or I would say our Facebook page, in January, and recorded some songs. With the sound guy and in a studio, and we recorded like New Year's Day and Pride and Streets and Beautiful Day. And Brad Avance in the band, our Edge, he also plays piano live on stage. None of the piano stuff is tracked. And so and everybody is just absolutely killing it in that band. And I always I really appreciate them. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of good stuff, and Pride in the Name of U2. It's just, like I say, it's just a lot of fun, and we've got a lot of gigs booked, and so I appreciate you asking me about that. But yeah,
Yeah.
it's all the projects I'm in are passion projects. Obviously, Phil Collins is always going to be closest to my heart, but I love Stevie Nicks and Fleetwood Mac, and I also love U2. So yeah. So that's good stuff.
It's cool because like you went from, man, I want to start a tribute band, and now you're in three. How does that
I know,
feel? That's
right?
freaking awesome, right? That's
It is.
awesome.
It's pretty cool. I mean, I'm very thankful that those things have worked out for me. I mean, I worked at it, and I've hustled at it, and I've done my homework to make sure I'm worthy of being in bands like that. But at the same time, I'm very thankful for this whole community, and I know that it gets said over and over again, but it's because it's true. The music community in Dallas and Dallas Fort Worth is one of the best. And I feel bad for some other people. This is from what people tell me, but in other cities, there's not necessarily as nearly as much of a musical community like this. And so I'm very thankful to be in this town. And I've been here since 1980. I was born in '76 in Chicago, and then I'm just very thankful that I'm here. And to can be in all these bands that are just absolutely killing it. And it's been a wonderful ride. And this year I'm going to play probably twice as more, or maybe three times as more gigs this year than I've ever played. So
That's
yeah,
so
it's
awesome, being
awesome.
able to do something
It's
you
cool.
love that much. Yeah, and you're right. The Dallas Fort Worth community is like none other than the music community. It's like you anytime you go to a band's gig, there's a bunch of other people from other bands there. It's just we all love on each other and support one another,
Right. Yep.
and we just love the community. And there's so much good music and so many
Right.
good players and everything. It's just really really cool.
Especially
Yeah,
especially at metal shop shows, we all come and
yeah,
have
Metal
fun
Shop. I
there.
like those guys. Those guys are cool. Their
Yeah.
drummer, she's kind of nerdy, but that Crash
Yeah.
Gordon or something like that.
We
She's
love her
weird.
though. Yeah, we love her though.
Well, you have some questions coming in for you, Jeff. So I've got a question here
Okay.
from Lynn Bartnett from the Drumathon Committee. She says, of the bands that you play with, that you tribute, have you seen each of those bands live, or are there some that you haven't?
Well, so I have seen Phil Collins and Genesis many times, and I got to meet Phil Collins on my birthday and on May 10th, 2010. And I have seen I've seen Fleetwood Mac once on the dance reunion tour in '97 of Starplex. Um, and but I hate to say this, but I have never seen U2, and I've had opportunities to see U2. I think my biggest regret is I didn't see him on their pop tour at the Cotton Bowl, where Rage Against the Machine was opening for them. But I swear to God, next time that they come around, I'm going to go see them. But I've not had a chance to see U2, but I've done my homework though, despite not seeing them. But yeah, so I've seen the other bands, but I've not seen U2. Yeah.
So you guys in your tribute bands, I know that just like Pink, who I sit in with periodically,
Yeah.
they do a lot of the songs like Pink does live. So we study the tunes that are and how they're played live, because a lot of especially the Pink tunes, because a lot of Pink music is programmed drums in the studio. It's not a real drummer, and so the drums live are a lot different. For example, so
Mhm.
do you guys make a point in each one of the bands you're in to play the music they do at their live concerts, or do you guys stick more to the studio recording?
Yes and no. So, as far as the Stevie Nicks band is concerned, there is a show that Stevie Nicks did a few years ago called Live in Chicago, and we take a lot of the live versions from that. Um, and and I will say that some things that bands do in the studio are very hard to replicate live, which is evident by the way that those bands play them live, because some of the things that Stevie Nicks does live are just more practical, rather than all the studio tricks and stuff. So, but then there are some things that bands do live that they can do live because they are that band, and I know you understand that, also. There's things that you can grandstand because you are Bruce Springsteen. You can do things on stage because you're Bruce Springsteen, as to where the tribute band is not going to be able to pull off nearly as well. And so, but yeah, we take a lot of those live versions and definitely replicate it. I will say that live versions really help when you're trying to end a song, when a lot of bands will end it and just fade out in the studio. I will say that there's a song called Taking It All Too Hard that we just added to our set list in Pure Collins, and also a song called Man on the Corner, that Taking It All Too Hard, for instance, they never played live. So we had to write our own ending. Like, well, what's a good way to end this? Because Genesis never did. So we had to come up with it ourselves. And it was kind of fun to kind of, in a pseudo kind of way, be a part of the writing process for that song, because you had to write your own ending for it because the band never did.
Right, you get to use
Um,
your own creativity on that and be like,
yeah.
"Hey, what would Phil do?" or something.
Right. So,
Yeah. Hmm.
yeah. So that I think that kind of sums that up. We do live versions, but also have to be cognizant that some live versions, some things don't carry over as well as others would.
Yep, I got you. I do want to point out some people have given you some big shout outs and stuff. Kim Lusk says that you're always awesome, Jeff. Hillary says, "You rock, Jeff. I love you." She commented
Woohoo!
that a little bit ago. Kim says, "Jeff, you are always on point with the rhythm of every band you're a part of." We're cool. Now,
Oh, thank you, Kim.
Hillary, Hillary has a question for you here. She says, "What is your favorite song to play from each of your groups?"
Okay, so with you two, it is yeah, it's The Fly. The Fly is my from the Octone Baby album. It's my favorite song to play. I basically play I play the kick drum like that, boom, 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 boom through the whole song. The whole song, the kick drum is just going constant. And it's just fun. I don't play any other song like that at all. And it's a lot of fun to just play that way. And then in Phil Collins, I would say that uh only there's it's hard to pick a Phil one, but if I had to pick one that I'm really having fun with right now, I guess it would be either Illegal Alien or mm, Only You Know and I Know is a fun one. But also the ones that I get to play with Art is a lot of fun. We play Something Happened on the Way to Heaven. We'll play the intro and the outro together. And then on the Stevie Nicks band, um, I would say it's Edge of 17 because I mean I get to totally rock out on that one. I get to play that beat that is a lot of fun to play that we talked about, and then towards the end of the song, I in rehearsal I started throwing double kick in there because I was like, why
Sweet.
not, right? Yeah, because every song needs double kick, right, April? Right?
Yeah, dude, metal.
Yeah, totally. And so I did that, and towards the end of the song, and Andy Long was like, "Dude, I love that. We should totally do that. We should do that for like 4 bars, and that's how we'll like good take us to the end of the song." And I was like, "Right on." And so we did that, and really, it's the end of the show. We're rocking it out, and it's just yeah, that's my favorite song for sure. And those are my favorite songs from all three bands.
That's awesome. Great answers. Everybody's really enjoying your answers to these questions and in this chat too. Cheryl is watching right now and she says, "Show us one of the crazy faces you make while you're playing. All of you rockers know you do it." See, the thing is though, I'm gonna try to protect you from this. Yeah, there it is.
I mean, I'll make faces. I'll make faces at Jurgen, the keyboardist in Dreams Unwind. I'll make faces at him just to get him to laugh because he's always just to my right, and I'll look at him and I'll just like go, "Ooh," I'll just I will totally
That's
do it. I
awesome.
will make funny faces to him, and I do make rock and roll faces. I know I do. I mean, I'll just be like, oh, or I'll be like when I play as just a nasty roll in the drums, I'll just be like, oh, like, damn, that was stanky, because I'll do a roll in the drums. I'll do a big
Yeah.
old fat roll in the drums, and I'll just be like, I don't know where that came from, and I must have pulled it out of my ass or my butt. Sorry, I didn't mean to
Yeah,
cuss,
you're good.
but
You're
I'll be
good.
I'll be pulling that out of my butt because that stinks. That's just a stinky roll. So, yeah. So that's some of the
That's
faces that
awesome.
I'll make.
I remember one time I'll have to dig it up for you, Jeff, to show you. But I played there was a Coyote Ugly bar down in Deep Ellum years and years
Hmm.
ago, probably in the
Yeah.
early 2000s, and
Hmm.
somebody happened to snap a picture at the absolute wrong time where I was making some crazy face, just crazy, and it's like it is. There's not ever been one that tops that, but those of you that do come to Metal Shop, I invite you to watch me making faces at my bass player during the second verse of Down Boys. It's consistent,
Okay.
so you have to
Okay.
watch for that next time you see
I
Metal Shop
will.
play.
I will. Yes.
All right, we
Yes.
got another question here. So Hillary says, "I love your answers. Do you guys in the YouTube band play So Cruel from the Acton Baby album? If not, will you?"
Oh, it has been talked about. So Cruel is definitely a good song. I can hear it in my head right now. And that's a good one. Yeah, we've talked about that. We would love to do um, a Joshua Tree show where we play like all of Joshua Tree. I mean, we basically have learned we know all songs off Joshua Tree except for like two, which we'll learn those eventually. And then I would love to do an Octane Baby album show. And we have a couple venues that we think we could do it at. I will give a shout out to the owners of the Old 75 Beer Garden that's on Spring Valley and 75. They are diehard U2 fans, and we're probably going to play there a few times a year. And we would love to, do special shows there, so we could do like all of Octane Baby, because we love all the songs off of that. And it would just be, just a special one-off thing, where we just do, and make sure everybody knows, we'll do like, our first set will be Octane Baby and the second set will be all hits, So yeah, so we've talked about doing that, and that is a good song. And I mean, hell, in my opinion, every song off that album is really good. It's one of my two favorite albums from U2.
That's very cool. It's so cool to talk to people who are just so passionate about the band the music that they pay tribute to. To be in a tribute band, and it's not just like, oh yeah, it's a gig. I'm
Right.
doing
Yeah.
XYZ band, and
Right.
it's just because that's the
Right.
gig. It's because they have
Yeah.
a real passion for it. I do think that that's actually common, that a lot of people do really have a passion for the music that they're tributing. So that's super cool.
Hmm.
All right,
Yeah.
dude. We went a little bit over tonight, but this was
Okay.
great chat with you, and so I freaking love having you on, and I could tell everybody really enjoyed having you too. And I'm so excited about working with you in this new capacity through Breast Cancer Can Stick It for Drumathon this year, and to see what you guys are going to bring to the table. I'm just super excited to see how this goes this year.
So can I just throw a shout out real quick to some of the
Yeah,
shows I got coming
absolutely.
up? Okay.
Yeah, do it. Please do.
And
Please.
then we'll wrap it up. And
Yeah.
so on June 7th, Pure Collins will be playing at the Revel in Frisco for a Wednesday night dinner show where we'll be celebrating our 5th anniversary as a band. And then on June, shoot, am I going to forget? June 17th, June 17th, Dreams Unwind is playing Hub 121 in McKinney. And then on June 21st, Dreams Unwind will be doing a dinner show on at the Revel on a Wednesday, June 21st. And then 2 days after that, on June 23rd, I'll be playing with Pride in the Name of U2 at the Dive in Denton. So that's kind of my June that I have coming up. And then there's other stuff after that, and I'm always promoting shows on my Facebook page. So there you go.
That's very cool that Hub 121, is that on the north side of 121, kind of near like
Yeah.
Alma or something,
Al-
somewhere around there?
Alma and 121, and where there's also a new place opening right across the street from it called District 121. I know that's not confusing at all, but we were also in talks to maybe play there. So as well. But yeah, Hub 121. It's a very nice venue. It's like a mini Grandscape, and it's so I'll be there, and so just got a lot of things coming up. If anyone is ever wondering what shows I got coming up or anything like that, they're always posted, on my page, and on my Facebook story and all that kind of stuff. Just trying to get the word out and all that good stuff. And what do you got coming up, April? You got any shows coming up? You got any metal shop or something?
You,
Or
you know,
I
you
don't
know
want to
what?
be the only. I'm not the only rock star in this interview.
I know, right? Well, I mean, I'm actually excited. I got a call yesterday to sit in with Rock Radio this Saturday night for a private, so I'm really excited about doing that.
Right on.
Play with Burke. I've always been a fan of Burke's playing
Yeah.
specifically, and
Hmm.
of his freaking hard muscles that I want to have. And then
Yeah.
got Metal Shop doing the Island a week from Saturday out at Lake Texoma, so that'll be cool. Yeah.
Sweet.
Always, I try to just
Sweet.
keep track of, like, with Metal Shop. I always just try to know what the next show is. It's too
Right.
hard for me to remember like the next like 3 shows. So I just make sure that I know what the next one is, so I know where I need to be next. But it's
Yeah.
cool to get
Yeah.
to have. I had a weekend off this weekend and had
Hmm.
Burke reach out, and so excited to play some with Rock Radio, who's a
Cool.
great group of guys, and sit in
And
for Mark, who's playing with Rockaholics that night. So yeah,
sweet. And just
yeah.
real quick, speaking of private gigs, this Saturday I'm playing in Rogers, Arkansas for a private gig with Adam Lashbrook with Division 80, and John Inman, who is of Def Legend fame. So I'm so psyched to play with John Inman, and Adam Lashbrook. And we've got Gene on keyboards. Gene, forgive me, I don't remember your last name, sir. But Gene is a great keyboardist. He plays with Grand Illusion, and we're doing a private show this Saturday as well. So it'll be a 5.5 hour drive for a show. So I'm looking forward to it.
There you go. That'll be
So
awesome. Hey, did you watch the
yeah,
video of me playing with Trip Rocket and John Inman back in
I did.
2003?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, yeah, I totally did, and I also texted John about it, and he was like, "Yeah, that was old school back in the day, that was so cool." It was you and
Bobby Hoke from
our
yeah,
Bobby Hoke, yeah, Bobby
Lucher
Hoke,
and
and
Thin White Dukes. Yeah.
yes, love Bobby Hoke, and I could just, he's got such a signature smile that just makes you want to smile, and even in that, even though that video was a little grainy, you could still see Bobby Hoke's smile through that, and also John Inman and you rocking it out, and then who was on vocals, if you don't mind me asking? I don't know
That
who
was
that was.
Bobby's yeah, that was Bobby's wife at the time, Kayla. She's
Oh,
an
okay,
amazing singer.
right,
They used to have also a covered dance band called Dance Regina. So when
right
I
on.
met Kayla and Bobby, it was in the late '90s, and they had Trip Rocket, which is a huge fan of Trip Rocket. They're actually an original band, and that was the only cover we played that night. But
Oh
their
wow,
original music is killer, killer. You should look up Trip Rocket on YouTube
Trip
and listen
Rocket,
to some of the
right
music
on.
there. So killer, amazing, amazing band. Yeah.
Will do,
So
will
that was
do.
a really, really fun night. But all right, man, thank you so much for being a part of this tonight, Jeff, and getting to come
Thank
on
you
the
for
show.
asking
And
me.
yeah,
Thank you.
man, it was so cool
Yeah.
to hear your history and rock.
Yeah, right
So
on.
cool,
Thank you. I
dude.
appreciate it. I really do.
Yeah, yeah, and we'll slay it with some drumathon fundraising this year, right?
Yes, yes, yes. Go to Drumathon. Go to Breast Cancer Could Stick It on Facebook and anywhere, and you'll see it on my page as well. We're going to be promoting all the fundraising and all that good stuff.
Yep, it's going to be a great year. Looking forward to it, man. You have a great night, Jeff, and I'll talk to you real soon. I'm sure I'll see you real soon out there on the scene. Okay.
Me too. You too, April. Love you.
Take
Love
care.
y'all.
Love you too, man. Take care, buddy.
Peace.
Bye. Guys, give it up for Jeff DeYoung, amazing drummer out of Dallas, Texas, playing with Dreams Unwind, Pure Collins, and Pride in the Name of You Too. Be sure to check those bands out. Gonna spin a couple more verses for you guys.